All right. Hi everyone. My name is Victor Onwoke, and in this walkthrough, we are going to create and deploy a Bicep template in VS Code. Our template will include a virtual machine, two storage accounts, a virtual network, a subnet, and a network security group with inbound rules for RDP on port 338 just for testing purposes. Once everything is deployed, we move into the Azure portal to configure object replication, set up encryption, create a private endpoint, and finish by enabling Bob visioning. Let's get started. Here we have our templates in our VS Code. We have the storage.biceps, which include our SQs and the location of our resource group. Now we have the resource.bicep, the resources.bicep, which includes, we have the tag allocated to all resources. We have an NSG, the name of the NSG location, security rules, which allow the RDP port 3389 just for testing purpose. We have the VNet, which includes the VNet name, location tags, and the address prefix. We have the subnet associated to the VNet, which includes the subnet name, the address prefix, and also the next NSGs. We have public IPs. We created a dynamic public IP, which will automatically an IP from the VNet. We also have the NIC, which will hold our IPs. We also have our virtual machines. The configurations is a window virtual machines. The SQs is standard local redundancy storage. We have the deploy all.bicep, which we will use to deploy all the resources. We define all the parameters name. We have the virtual machines, the name of the virtual machines, the name of the subnet, the name of the VNets, public IP name, the nickname. Here we define all the parameters. First, we are going to create a resource group. We are using our PowerShell to create our resource group. So we use the new AZ resource group, the name of our resource group, Vic RG, and our location is to US. We hit enter. Now our resource group is created. Next, we are going to deploy all the resources using the deploy all.bicep template file. We will use the new AZ resource group deployments command and we hit enter. Here we give the password for our VM. Now, once deployment finishes, let's switch to the Azure portal and confirm. Switch to the Azure portal and confirm our resources are there. We hit on refresh, and these are our resource group we just created. In our resource group. Here we can confirm that all the resources, both the VM, the storage account, the two storage accounts, the Vic HQ storage account and the Vic storage account. We have the network interface, we have the NSG, we have our public IP, then we have our virtual machines and the disks associated to the virtual machines. We have our virtual network. First, we are going to configure object replication. I'm going to open the first storage account. Here I will go to containers under the data storage, add a container. I will add my container. I'll see my data and create. I will go back to my resource group and also I'll need to create a container under the second storage account. I'll open the second storage account, go to my container, add container. I'll call the name of the container backup. Click on create. Back to my first storage account. Go to my container. Here I will I will upload a image test, a file test. Click on upload. Here I will choose to save it to a folder, security tests. Then I'll browse my file and choose my file. Then I'll upload. Once done, I can see I have my file. Then go back to my storage account. I'll navigate to object replication under data management. Object replication. I'll create a rule under my data subscription. Select my subscription, my destination storage account. I'll select the second storage account. Enable replication monitoring. I'll choose to leave it on tick. Under the container pair details, the source container, I'll put the first storage account container. For the destination container, I'll choose the second account container, which is the backup. Under the filter, I'll leave the filter. Under the cover over, I'll click on change, then set it as everything and save. Now I'll click on create. Now the new blobs in the source will automatically replicate to the destination. I give it some time and go back to my second storage account under my container. I'll click on the backup. If I hit on refresh, you will see that my files are replicated now. If I click on the folder, you will see that the file uploaded in the first storage account is being replicated in the second account. Now I'll move back to my first storage account under the container. If I try to access my file using the URL, I will copy the URL here and open a new tab and paste the URL here. You can see by default I can't access the file because the public access is not permitted on the storage account. Now to quickly test, I'll have to enable the blob assets. I'll go back to my container, my first storage account. I will go to configuration under settings. I have to enable the allow blob anonymous access. I'll click on enable and save. So if I go back to my container and click on my container, I'll change the access level to blob anonymous read access. I'll click on OK. Then if I reload my URL, I can see I can view my image. Next, I'm going to configure a storage account encryption. Storage account encryption, make sure all data, blobs, file, queues, table, and disks is encrypted at rest. Under the security and networking, I'll go to encryption. I can see that Microsoft managed keys are on default. If you need more control, you can switch to customer managed keys. I will leave it on Microsoft managed keys. The next step, I will configure private endpoints. I'll go to my networking. A private endpoint is a network interface that connects you privately and securely to Azure service using a private IP address from your VNet. To do this, I'll first delete the replication policy which I configured earlier. I'll go to my data management under the object replication. Under my policy, I'll have to delete the policy and go back to my networking. Here, I will click on private endpoint tab. Then I'll create a new private endpoint. Under the resource group, I'll select my resource group. Then I'll give it a name, which is Vig private endpoints. Automatically, it's created a nick for me. Next, I'll go to my resource, click on resource. Here, I will select blob. Target sub resource, I will select blob. Next, go to the virtual network. Under my virtual network, I will select my virtual network I created. Under the subnet, I will select my subnets. Under the private IP configuration, I will select the dynamic allocated IP. This will automatically allocate IP from my VNet. I will go to next. Under the DNS, I will leave the DNS as default. Then next to my tag, I have a tag already. I can choose to give it a tag. Owner should be Victor. Now I'll go to review and create. I'll wait for the final validation. Once the validation is passed, I will click on create and wait for deployment. If I go to my virtual machines, I'll click on my virtual machines. Then I'll try to access my virtual machines, try to connect through the RDP. Here, I'll download the RDP file, then click on input my password. Okay. Now this is my virtual machines. I'll allow it to load. Once the private endpoint deployment is completed, now I'll have to test the private endpoint. Now to test the private endpoint, I'll open my command prompt here on my local computer and run the ns lookup commandlet on the blob service endpoint. I will say ns lookup, then I'll copy the endpoints for my storage account. I will hit on enter. Now you will see the IP address that comes back is a public IP address. And that is expected because I'm connecting from my computer on the public network. Next, I will remote into my virtual machines that is connected to my VNet. I'll open my virtual machines. Here, I will do the same thing. I'll open my command prompts. Then I will use the ns lookup space. I'll paste my endpoint and I will hit enter. Now this time, you will notice the IP address is private. That's because my VM is inside the virtual network. So traffic to the storage account is routed through the private endpoint instead of going over the private internet. We should see it resolving to the private IP. Next, if I move back to my storage account, then go to networking under the security and networking. Then under the public access, if I click on manage, then I'll set this public network access to secured by perimeters, most restricted. This is restricting inbound and outbound access using a network security perimeters. And I'll hit on save. Now once that is saved, if I refresh my file or my image, you'll see that the request is not authorized this request is not authorized to perform this operation. If I open my virtual machines and if I refresh the image, you can see I can access this file using my virtual machine that is connected to my virtual network. And now that's the complete workflow from writing a Bicep templates in VS Code to deploying resources, configuring security, setting replication, managing endpoints, and enabling advanced storage features. These approaches saves time, keeps deployment consistent, and follow best practice for building secure Azure storage solution. Thank you for watching.